Thank you for taking the time to introduce me. My name is Miyano. Today, I would like to talk about well-being in relation to my work, Interdisciplinary. I work at the Center for the Promotion of Interdisciplinary Education and Research at Kyoto University. My specialty is academia and university theory. I am interested in what academia is and what a university is. Originally, I was doing research in metaphysics and nanotechnology, but after working for the Ministry of Education, Culture, Sports, Science and Technology, I moved to philosophy. In the following, I will talk about disciplines and specialties, all of which are the result of my research, that is, the study of great men who spoke about disciplines in different countries and times. My particular influences are the following people. Now, I would like to introduce the center where I am working. This is because it is strongly related to the topic of today's presentation. The purpose of this center is to build the academic ethos of Kyoto University. In other words, it is to improve the attitude of researchers toward research. Therefore, this center does not produce research papers efficiently, but rather creates a forum for quality dialogue to obtain better research themes. Although I am the only full-time faculty member, I am fortunate to have supervisors and staff who have produced high-profile results. Fortunately, we have about 10 newspaper articles this year, and in 2019, we won the Cabinet Office Open Innovation Award. That's very lucky. There are two main activities of this center. The first is to create and support groups that conduct interdisciplinary research activities, called units. Currently, there are about 40 groups. We also have a light unit, which is mainly for young researchers. The members of the units are often full professors of the university, but in these light units, researchers on fixed-term contracts can also become the head of the unit, and they work across disciplines. Another activity of the center is to conduct projects that promote cross-border, cross-disciplinary, or interdisciplinary research in universities. One of our representative projects is the Kyoto University 100 Theses. This is a kind of poster presentation in which participants anonymously exchange their opinions. It is currently being conducted at more than 10 universities across the country, and the most popular is the academic journal Toitoi, which was launched this year. This is the first journal in Japan dedicated to interdisciplinary research. You can submit your research in any field. The last one I would like to introduce is the All Fields Exchange Meeting, which has been held monthly for the past 10 years. Every month, 50 people gather online to learn from each other. This month's event is this Friday night. Please register and enjoy the learning dialogue. There are many other interdisciplinary activities going on, but I don't have time to introduce them today, so that's it. If you are interested, please visit our website or sign up for our newsletter. As I mentioned earlier, the activities of this center have been attracting a lot of attention, but at the root of it all is this idea. There is nothing in this world that is not fused with something else. For example, every product is delivered not only by its raw materials and manufacturers, but also by its supply chain. There is no such thing as something that exists on its own. The same goes for academic fields. All disciplines are derived from the idea of philosophy, and they have influenced each other and merged into the present. Therefore, in the end, talking about the integration of different fields and interdisciplinarity is the same as talking about academism. In today's academic circles and government organizations, daring to emphasize the importance of interdisciplinarity and integrated knowledge is evidence of deviation from the original discipline. It is not the liberal arts that insist that liberal arts are important. So now we say interdisciplinarity is important because we have not mastered interdisciplinarity or academic skills. It is a shameful story. To be honest, you can write a better paper if you stay in a certain field of specialization. There is already a solid system in place, so you can just follow it and do your research. However, even so, you can do research but not study. Learning is to look at yourself with another set of eyes. Therefore, you have to question the system you are using. What a researcher really wants to do is not limited to one field of expertise. No matter what your field of expertise is, if you continue to deepen it, there will always be points of contact with other fields. For example, the study of matter itself has led to the development of string theory, right? But that's theory, not matter, isn't it? What is matter? But as a result, it became a theory or a law. What does this mean? In this case, I think this is where philosophy comes in. As you can see, the deeper the problem, the more inadequate one field or method is. This is an extreme example, but it goes without saying that even if we take a general problem such as environmental issues, we still need perspectives from technology, economics, etc. to solve it. In short, it doesn't matter what field or interdisciplinary field the question or theme is in, as long as the researcher is sincere about his or her question. If you think about it for a moment, you will realize that there is no such thing as specialization. It's just a political and institutional label. I think it is safe to say that sticking to a specialty is the exact opposite of getting to the essence of a subject. This is one of the major reasons for the current inconveniences in various academic fields. Specialization is not something to be protected, but something to be destroyed. Many great people, including Soseki Natsume and Bergson, have said so. The distinction between the sciences and the humanities is only one of convenience. A philosopher named Kiyoshi Miki said, when you get right down to it, it is natural for specialists to be exposed to philosophy, which is the foundation of their own field, in order to stand outside of it to better consider the meaning of their own field and to test the comprehensiveness and influence of their own principles in various fields. That is what is required of researchers today, and that is what an interdisciplinary center should be. Why did the disciplines become so fragmented in the first place? In the past, it was cool to say, I've been doing this for 30 years. But now, it's kind of lame. I've been in the field of is somewhat cooler. There are 3 reasons for this. One is professionalism. The more you try to be precise in your description, the narrower the environmental conditions become. For example, if you want to compare the level of happiness between Americans and Japanese, what kind of Japanese is Japanese? Do they live in the city? Does their level of happiness differ depending on whether they live in the city or in the countryside? Also, does it depend on the age you were born? So, we don't know exactly what we are talking about. In other words, when you try to claim something exactly, the conditions become more and more detailed, and as a result, the number of items increases for each condition. The second is the thesis principle. Thesis principle, which means that a thesis must always contain something new. Actually, that's not quite right either. In the past, journals were full of refuting papers, and it was thought that research in that field would grow in that community. Nowadays, however, there is not much debate between people about an event or issue, and everyone wants to publish their own paper. As a result, I think that proposing something new is considered a good idea, and the number of detailed fields is increasing. The third is relativism. We live in a world where it is better to be the only one than the number one and to say that you don't know about others. This has led to the development of professionalism and thesis-based thinking. Now let's move on to the next topic. Let's consider interdisciplinarity in relation to the theme of today's symposium, well-being. In this case, I think the idea of co-creation immediately comes into play. Well-being and loneliness are polar opposites. After all, working together with a large number of people in a lively manner will definitely lead to well-being. Then, here, if you are a researcher, the question will come to your mind, how do we co-create? Of course, it is important, but isn't that all we do these days? I think too many people are looking for the how. If you have a scholarly mind, ask yourself this question. Is there anything in this world that can be completed by one person? What is co-creation? This is not the same as saying we can't discuss it without defining it. I just want to insist on the importance of deep thinking. It is difficult to think deeply, to face what is really important. It takes time to discuss, because there is no answer. Well-being, happiness, the more I think about it, the more difficult it is to define it strictly and the more it depends on each individual's experience. That is why you have to think for yourself. And it is your responsibility, because you have to rely on what you believe. Will you be satisfied with the definition and content of well-being given to you from outside? Actually, this is the most important message of my talk. The rest is just a bonus. But since there is still time, let me explain a little about specialization. First of all, what is a field? What is a specialty? Nowadays, it is said that different fields must intersect. But what is a field? What is a specialty? A person who is an expert in that field. A professional? No, to put it another way, that means someone who is trapped in the field. This is how scholars think. Bergson, Sosky Natsum and others said so. Let's talk about the episode of Henry Bergson. At a symposium, Bergson was listening to a performance by a psychiatrist. During the question time, a lady asked him a question. I had a dream that my husband, who had gone to war, had died. He had been shot in a cave. A few years later, a colleague of my husband came back to my country and told me of his death. The way he died was just like in my dream. What does this mean? She asked the psychiatrist. The psychiatrist answered, I often hear about such predictive dreams, but each time I am baffled. Because you have a lot of dreams in which your husband is not killed, right? How many of your dreams have come true? If you don't think about it, I have no way to answer. It is said that when Bergson heard this, he thought that the lady was right. The lady was just talking about dreams. She wasn't talking about the probability of a predictive dream coming true. As you can see, experts are no longer able to see things from their own specialized perspective. That's fine for a researcher, but not for academics. The more you master something, the more mysterious it becomes. This is the truth. The mystery has finally been revealed, but that is not the same as the mystery being solved. So, in order to reach the truth of something at any time, you need to be humble and flexible. There was a saying in the Analects of Confucius, learn and you shall not be hardened. You have to confront that incomprehension. That inevitability is the truth. That is the learning. That's about all I have to say. If I were to summarize today's talk forcefully, I would say, if you think of well-being from an academic perspective, if you think of it as good co-creation, then it has an interdisciplinary color to it. And in order to make that co-creation and collaboration a good thing, the following two attitudes are important. I am ready to change. A humble attitude. If members with such an attitude get together, it will surely work. Note that this is not a methodology. As I mentioned earlier, learning is about thinking about thinking. Everything is a thought. Now, everyone think for yourselves. No one is going to think for you. That's all. Thank you very much for your time.